Hello, YouTube. It's William here with the Deece Plus podcast. Uh, when I was a child, yet again, when a group of people were singing happy birthday to me in a very public setting, about half of them said happy birthday, dear Will, and I stood up in my chair, turned around at them, and screamed at all of them that it was William, not Will. Aaron?
That sounds like what you would
Wow,
do.
that is the sassiest thing I've ever
I
heard.
know, right? I mean, even as like a 4-year-old child, I was just incredibly sassy.
You're such a diva.
I know, God, and still am, truthfully. That's why I'm the host role in this.
My name's Aaron, and I just saw the My Hero Academia 2 Heroes movie. It was Deece Plus.
Dude, I was gonna go see that, but I was doing this tonight, so I didn't.
Tyler?
Nerds!
Weeps. Ian?
What am I supposed to do?
That. All right. Boros Locket. So there is a cycle of lockets, one for each guild. We're just going to run over Boros Locket, and then we're just going to acknowledge the existence of the other ones, but we will read Boros Locket in full. So it's an artifact. It's 3 generic mana. It says tap, add green or white, and it also has hybrid red, white 4 times. So red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white. Tap, sack it to draw 2 cards. And if you've never played with hybrid mana before, it's pretty intuitive. Treat that slash just like you would in normal everyday life. Kind of view it as an or. So you can pay red or white in any combination of 4 and sack it to draw 2 cards. And that will be true for all the other lockets and their corresponding guilds.
So
So
I
you're
think
supposed to pop this and drop this?
Yes. Yep.
pop it and lock it. So I think these are relatively decent and limited. I think Boros is probably the worst one,
Probably. Yeah.
just because they don't really want mana rocks. But I guess you could be like a bigger red-white deck if you so choose. Or if you want to splash one of those 2 colors in your tricolor deck, you'll maybe play the Boros Locket. I do like that the draw 2 cards is pretty easy to cast, actually, for like the hybrid mana.
Yeah.
Kind of helps.
Activate.
Yeah, sorry, whatever. Activate. Yeah. So I think these are like pretty decent, and I think the Demir and the Golgari decks might want one of these. I'm not sure if you like always want one or not, though.
I think Golgari will. The curve on the Golgari card seemed to be pretty high. So like having
Demir
a
also
ramp
just
spell is
loves
pretty
drawing
good.
cards, so.
Yeah, is it as well? Will like drawing cards. Like basically, like you said, Boros is clearly like the one that wants this the least. So I think the Boros one will be like the worst one. That's just because Boros doesn't really want this effect.
Right.
So in a Boros deck, this card's probably like a 1, but I think in all the other guilds, it's around a 2. As like a take it or leave it. Like if your curve's higher, this might become a necessity. I could see you maybe playing 2 copies of it in the deck. They also help you splash, which is nice. It is like fixing that helps you splash in other colors. These are also, I will say, they're better than Clue Stones were. I like want to mention that because I think that's the closest comparison. Is these are like essentially Clue Stones, but I think that drawing 2 cards for the extra mana is worth it.
Yep. So I'm going to ask a question that I probably know the answer to, but I'm going to be a good host and ask it anyway. Would you splash cards off of lockets?
I think that'll be the primary application for some of the decks that are going with the multicolor route, either 3 to 4 colors, or for the incredibly brave 5-color green.
Yeah, and the 5-color green decks, you're just gonna take every locket.
Yeah. But when you were asking like splash, like you mean like only off of lockets? Is that what you're asking?
Not necessarily. Because
Okay.
I feel like the answer to that is just absolutely no. You don't want to have to do that. I mean, I wouldn't, but
I don't know if it's absolutely no. Like if you have a card that has like a single pip off and you have like 2 lockets and like you throw in a basic or 2, I think it's like fine.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like involving throwing in a basic too. So but,
Yeah,
like, but I'm saying like without
you're
gates.
not.
Yeah.
I'm saying like no gates, like no other like fixing, right?
Right.
Yeah, but I do think it is realistic to just play some lockets and some gates though, and not play any of the.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah, the lockets and the gates, which we're going to get to, is like makes it seem like the mana is going to be quite good in this format. I think it's going to be slightly worse than cons, but close enough where you can like realistically play a 3-color deck if you like consciously pick up some fixing.
Yeah, and I think that it's mostly going to be like Sultai. There's going to be a little Grixis action, and there's I guess there could be some Abzan. But I do think that the Naya color pair is going to happen least often.
Well, yeah, Naya and Jeskai, just because the Boros does not want to splash.
True, yeah, I forgot Jeskai was the other one. Yeah.
Boros is not interested in splashing colors. They really just want to be red-white. Like, they don't want guild gates, they don't want lockets, they just want, like, 1-drops, 2-drops, and just, like, get in there.
Yeah, I could see, like, maybe an Izzet deck that just wants a little more flyers, and there's some nice white flyers to maybe splash that way. It's never going to be red-white splashing a color. It's going to be like, is it splashing white or Celestia splashing red?
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
True.
No, fair enough. Speaking of the 5-color greed dream, what about Chamber Sentry? It's an X spell. It is an artifact creature construct, and it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of a mana spent to cast it. It has 2 activated abilities, the first of which is X, and tap. Remove X +1/+1's counters from Chamber Sentry. It deals X damage to any target, and the other activated ability is white, blue, black, red, green. Return Chamber Sentry from your graveyard to your hand.
I think this is 0 in every application.
Oh,
Aaron sounds like he's got some thoughts on this one.
I mean, Sunburst, Walking Ballista. Come on, guys.
No.
This card is overpowered, and is going to be the reason why you move into 5-color green. It'll just mow down everyone and everything. What could go wrong? And it works with mentor creatures, so it has additional applications.
That's true. You can put +1/+1 counters on it on other means. So if you have some +1/+1 counter, if you have some mentor creatures in your 3-color deck, you can just play this as a 3-mana 3/3 that can.
Say in your Boros deck you have a 2-mana 2/2 that has the ability tap 2 mana, tap it, and remove 2 counters from it to deal 2 damage to any creature or any target. I think that's playable in almost every Boros deck. And the other ability just doesn't work then. But if you can ever mentor on it and get up to 3 or 4, if you live the super power hasty dream, whatever that guy is called when we reviewed it, I think this will see play more often than anyone's giving it credit for.
Alright, I do kind of get what you're saying. Even if it is just like kill itself to kill something else, I guess that is. I feel like it's really hard to play it with 2 mana, or 2. I feel like you have to be tricolor minimum, just as like a 3/3, and then.
I think you can be Boros and have this be 2, but I think in any other situation you have to be 3 colors at least.
I still don't know if I would pick this over like a regular bear with upside. Like I don't know. Maybe
this is colorless and it leaves you open, and it can give you into the best 5-color green deck. So.
Yeah, I think that the red-white cards that are like the specifically red-white. I think there's a couple of them. This card is weaker than those, so I don't think I would pick it over those.
But in Boros, remember that this is also another 1-drop. Like it's a modal, like could be a 1-drop. And like if this is your 1-drop into like a 2-drop,
yeah, I mean, I guess it's just like maybe it's worth it just because of mentor. I don't know.
And like mentor works with this ability really well.
So you gonna come up on me there, Ian?
Yeah, I will.
Where are you coming up to, bud?
I don't know, maybe like a 2.
It was a 2.5, I think.
I got there.
Yeah, I think I also just have it as a.
I'm at a 3 on this card, so.
I think it's a little high.
I'm way higher than everyone else, so.
It's true.
Yeah.
Any?
This card will not see playing constructed. No.
I was
Oh,
about
I
to
agree.
ask Aaron. Do you agreed? No constructed application.
I wanted to see playing constructed, but
Yeah. Well, hey, if you want to brew, hit me up.
I'm down for this card. So
All right.
Well, you might need the next card.
Should put it in your
Oh.
Joda Omniscience deck. Just saying.
Here we go. This is the bombiest of all bombs. Chromatic Lantern, 3 mana, artifact. Lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color, and it has an activated ability, tap, add 1 mana of any color. This card
William,
just
let
turns-
us have it.
This card just lets all of your lands become rainbow lands. So you could, turn 4 play, or sorry, turn 5 you could play Niv Mizzet, and then turn 6 you could just play the Elf Coil engine that we'll get into in gold. You can just play every single color pip card in your deck. You can just live the 5-color dream. Chromatic Lantern is hands down my favorite card in the set. I don't care.
So, are you taking it over the Eclipse Vegetation that gets gates?
I think you take this one first because it's a rare. and you take that one
I
second,
think
hope it wins.
I was gonna say the same thing. Early on in the format, I am more inclined to take a rare over an uncommon, and the fact that this is colorless and it can leave me open in my 5-color deck is also very, very important to someone like me.
I gave you plenty of time to think about it, so.
Yeah, and my opinion is I do believe I will at least at first take Chromatic Lantern over anything else. The only way I would ever pass a Chromatic Lantern is if there is a foil rare in the pack and it somehow is worth more than the draft itself on Magic Online.
What about if it's pack 3 and you're like Boros aggro, and this is what you open? Is it too late?
Yes. Well, that's very, very contextual. If I ended up with something super cool in my sideboard that I really wanted to splash, and I didn't really have enough guild gates, which again, as Tyler and I were talking about earlier, if somehow I don't end up with an abnormal amount of guild gates, I don't know what's happening because I feel like everyone's going to pass them to me, which is just going to be objectively wrong. But yeah, if I'm Boros aggro, then I probably will unfortunately have to pass it. I will have to hold my hand up to my computer screen and be like, I do not see this Chromatic Lantern. It is not here. So I guess if I was specifically Boros aggro, I won't want this card, unfortunately. Oh, that hurts to say.
So, Wilsack, is this a 4 for you?
Yes. At least at first, it is a 4 for me, because this is what I want to do in Ravnica. I want to play greedy, multicolored cards. I want it to also be good in Constructed. I'm pretty sure last time it was in Standard, it saw a pretty decent amount of play.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really
Saw
hoping
so much play.
that it'll be good again. Because again, I just want to live the maximum greed life.
Sweet.
Yes.
Yeah, I love this
Interesting.
card in Constructed.
Yeah.
What's
I
your
wanna play
rating on
this
it?
with Joda and Omniscience. It's just gonna work. I swear.
I will
Oh my
admit
God.
that it technically is not a 4, but for me, I am putting 4 on the spreadsheet.
I think this card's like a 3. Like, this is the best, fixer, right?
Yeah,
Especially
this
as,
is,
a first pick.
this is definitely the best fixer in both limited and constructed, I think.
Okay.
I'm definitely at a 3 in both formats as well.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. 3 in both.
I could probably be talked up to a 3.5 in limited, but
I
No,
think it's
I-
actually better in constructed than limited.
I don't.
Because in constructed you can have 4 of them and reliably be like a million colors.
Yeah, I'm not so. I have to see that deck do well before I am on
Dude, you get to
board.
play Chain Whirler and Stompy in the same deck.
Dude, I've built the deck and sent it to you already. I know. I know what the deck
I
looks
know.
like.
That deck was
It's so
great.
cool.
It had
It's so cool.
Nicol Bolas the Ravager. It had Teferi. Did it have Steel Leaf Champion?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
actually,
Chain
Champion
Whirler.
and Goblin Chainwhirler. Yeah.
Oh.
That
Just like,
was
what else do you want? What else do you want?
just-
And I think it had
Yeah.
Llanowar Elf too, so you could play Lantern
did.
too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
did. It had Lana Wolf.
You
And it
had my
the mana
interest,
support.
but now you
Oh,
have
yeah.
my attention.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's not the
That-
only thing
that's
I
like-
mention right now.
I
I think you
like
play Nip Visit too.
I might have been the sideboard.
I'd probably just
I was
play
not
one.
main deck.
Just play like
No,
one
that
of
card's,
every
like,
like super like
Fine. I think the card's like just fine.
I don't think that's going to be a real deck. I probably will try to play it at least once.
It might be. Like,
Dude, it
I
might
would not
be.
be shocked.
you just
I
roll
wouldn't be
every hand that
shocked.
doesn't have Lantern, or like I guess if you just do base green, you can still just play like Elf into Stompy.
Yeah.
Well, I also just my list had like 4 ops or something.
Yeah.
Like, and like I don't know, like if you want to play instead of opt, instead of playing opt, you can play anticipate. You can also play the new preordained card, where it's like surveil 2 and then
Just
draw a
imagine
card.
if
Like,
Trophy Mage was still in the format.
yeah,
Oh, if
But, like, I
Trophy
think
Mage
that,
was
like,
still in the
playing-
format, I mean, I would be all over Joda Omniscience, but unfortunately, it is not. So
like I think your lands can be bug base, and like you just like play like mostly like a bunch of green sources for Land of Wealth, and then like a couple blue sources for some kind of cantrip to find your Chromatic Lantern or something.
Yeah,
Like-
maybe like some counter spells in the
I
sideboard.
don't know about counter spells. I think you just want to be like, I have the best threats in the format, and I'm just gonna
Yeah,
like,
but
play
you
all the
can
best
just
threats in
like
the format.
you can just put like a bunch of Disdainful Strokes in your sideboard.
Yeah, in your sideboard you can play a bunch of counter spells. Yes. In the main deck, though, I think you just want to be like, I have the best threats, and here are all the best.
Yeah,
threats.
that's fine.
I'll probably run it through like at least one league, and then I'll probably scrub out because the mana is not going to be good. But
Someone is just gonna be like mono 3-drops like and get a 5-0 on MTGO.
Oh yeah, this Chromatic Lantern will 5-0 will be on posted as a 5-0 list for sure before.
No,
Winter.
but it's gonna be just all of the 3-pip green or the 3-pip and the 4-pip cards. That's it. And
That's
just
so
like-
bad.
yeah,
The-
I know.
that would be
it's not
so
even
bad.
good.
That deck would not 3.
We're like, yeah.
I think we've.
You don't want an 0-4 Tempest Gen?
No, I don't want to know 4 Tempest Gen.
I
Alright,
think
move on.
we've said all we could say about Chromatic Lantern.
Yeah.
So
Card's great.
Dimir Locket exists. It's just like the Boros one, except for just replace the Boros colors with the blue-black colors.
I don't think I gave a number for this before. I think they're going to be played at a higher rate. I think it'll be like a 2.5.
Yeah, I think 2.53.
And I think most of them are going to be there. The only addendum I'll add to it is that I think that this will be closer to in playability to Hedron Archive from, I believe it was Battle for Zendikar.
I think these are like better, maybe.
Yeah, I think they're better because they're 3 mana, but the sacrificing them is harder.
Yeah. Also, the Hedron
Not
Archive,
really.
like that format cared about colorless mana a lot.
Yeah.
Dimir Locket's
So
like
it's probably a
really
little
easy
worse.
to. You actually have all the mana already, right? If
But
you
he's
have-
saying that Hedron Archive costs 2 to sack, like only
Yeah.
2 mana.
Uh,
four.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, you would need to play land still too. I'm thinking that you could use the locket to pay for itself, but you can't. My bad.
No. Yeah.
So I that's the only addendum I could say is that Hedron Archive was a very well played card in that limited format, even if it was just 4 mana, wait a turn, draw 2 cards. So I think these will get played a lot in limited, and I don't think that they'll have applications in constructed. So
Right.
No.
Yeah. Do you have the Boros one? Yeah, I didn't collect numbers on the Boros one, so I know we were all, or most of us were lower on the Boros one.
Yeah, I think the Boros one's probably a 2, and then the rest are 3s.
I have the Boris one as like a 1, and the rest is like 2 to 2.5.
That's probably.
It kind of it depends like on your deck, like how like
I mean, I
some
think
decks
that
are gonna
they're,
have
like-
higher curves than others.
They're like a 3.5 in the 5-color deck, though.
I don't know about that.
yeah, I don't know about
I think
that
if you're I think if you're the 5-color deck, you have to be base green, and like at that point, if you're really like trying to go hard 5-color, like if I had a locket, like if I had an off-color locket, or like the 2 mana, like draw card, enchant a land card, I'm gonna take the enchant land.
That's fair.
All right, Gatekeeper Gargoyle. It is a 6 mana artifact creature golem. It is a 3/3. It has flying, and it enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each gate you control. In my decks, this is going to be a 6 mana 10/10. And
Wait, how? You mean a 6 mana 9/9?
Or he's gonna play it on turn 7.
yeah, I'm going to play on turn 7. Yeah, well, because my
Oh,
six,
you're right, because they come in tapped.
yeah, my
You're
6
right.
land's going to end up tapped.
Yeah.
So clearly, it's going to be a 6 mana 10/10.
That you play on turn 7.
Yeah, gotta play on turn 7, which is fine. I mean, 7,
With flying.
Yeah,
With
with
flying.
flying. I mean, the card's phenomenal. And then my opponent's gonna crushing canopy it, and I'm gonna scoop up my cards, go home, and cry myself to sleep again.
They're gonna kill you one creature and you're just gonna be done.
Yep. Just gonna, all right, well, you've done it. You have successfully crushed all of my
can't
dreams
believe-
for this
I
format.
can't believe
To
you
be
done this.
fair,
Can't believe
if you
done
have
this.
one gate, this card is Golden Chimera, I believe, like the classic
Yeah.
like 6 mana 4/4 flyer, which has like always been good. But like if you have 2 gates and there's a 6 mana 5/5 flyer, it's actively just very good.
Yeah,
But 2 gates is like kind of a lot to have in play because like that usually means that your deck has like 4 or something. Or
That's not
maybe even more.
necessarily true. If you have like Circuitous Route and District Guide in a green deck, like I think it's really sweet to be able to have a flyer in your green deck that is actually like pretty big, and the gates are like going to be played in the green decks a good amount.
This card for sure gets way better with District Guide and like the Circuitous Route or whatever.
Definitely.
Right, because it just incentivizes you to play the gates anyways, so it's just like incidental.
But my point mainly was like there doesn't have to be much to make this card good.
Right.
Like it's already
Yes.
pretty good.
Yeah.
It's worst case, it's a below rate 6-drop. It's best
Yeah.
case, it's a very above rate 6-drop. So
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's also a 6-drop that's colorless, and you don't have to worry about the specific mana and all that, so that's helpful too.
So that being said, would you guys rate this card?
I think it's like a 2.5.
Yeah.
I think I have like a 3.
Really?
I think you
Yeah,
always
it's-
put the first.
It's a flyer. Big flyer.
I'm at a 3 as well. The worst case, it's below rate, but its best case is so high. So
Yeah, even though I talked very highly of it, I'm still going to say like 2.75. I'll really have to see how the metagame shapes up in Limited to see how many gates people are actually going to be passing. When I played the cons flashbacks, people were passing the gain life dual lands like crazy. And obviously, if this card cared about those in that kind of format, then in my decks this card would be easily huge. If people kind of figure out more that you want to take gates relatively highly, we'll see. So I've got it as a 2.75.
I'd also like to point out that this is much better in draft than in sealed, because in sealed you're
True.
not
That's
going to be
a good
able to
Yep.
pick your gates. You're kind of just stuck with the 6 that you get.
Right.
In sealed, it's like kind of obvious to see how good this card is, though. Like the more gates you have, obviously the better it is. But
Yeah, well, the more gates in your colors specifically.
yeah, exactly.
Obviously, if you get insanely lucky and all of your bombs match up to all of your gates, you'll easily play this. What is the minimal number of gates in your limited deck, either draft or sealed, that you want to play to make Gatekeeper Gargoyle decent playable?
I think it's probably 4.
So in sealed, I actually think the number is 2.
Okay.
Well, in sealed, I just don't know if I'd play this card.
No, I'm down. In sealed, the formats are usually the format's usually a little bit slower and clunkier. The decks aren't built as well because it's sealed. So like a 6 mana 3/3 flyer in sealed is usually like pretty good.
Just
'Cause you
playable.
can like you can muck up the ground with like a bunch of like your bad like cards that you have to play just to like get your deck together, and then you like a 6 mana 3/3 flyer can like dominate the air.
That's fair.
So like I think the answer is like not much in sealed. In draft, I kind of agree that 4 is probably the bare minimum.
Okay.
I mean, I think it just incentivizes you to play more. Like, if you draft this early, you're gonna be more incentivized to pick up more gates than you normally
Yeah.
would. So, and
Yeah.
just for you to kind of theorize how many you could possibly get, there's gonna be 18, or sorry, yeah, 18, right? 6 times 3, or no, sorry, 24, 8 times 3. So there's 24 total gates.
Math.
and then you have to get the gate of your guilds.
Plus any
So-
foils.
True, there could be also foils.
Yeah.
So like 24.1 probably.
I mean, the average is that you can get 3 if everybody just takes the one that's in
Yes.
their pack. So
Yeah.
the average is that you're gonna get.
But
3.
again, we've talked about how Boros doesn't really want guild gates, so like,
Yeah.
if there's only one Boros deck, then like that's 3 more guild gates running around, and if there's 2, that's 6 more.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I don't know. I feel like even in Ixalan, or was it Rivals of Ixalan, that had like the Forsaken Sanctuary and like those, I feel like I still took that and played them in my aggressive decks. And they're
I
just
think it's a
tablets.
little bit different in this format because like there are so many playable 1-drops.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like it's different. Like this format is like very unusual. Like there's way more playable 1-drops in this format than like there's been in a long time for limited,
No.
especially in Boros.
We can go a
Okay.
little more ham on that one when we get closer to the lands. We're almost done with the artifacts.
Yeah.
We've got Glaive of the Guild Pact. It is a 2-mana equipment, and it says equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each gate you control, and has vigilance and menace equipped 3.
I don't think this card's very good.
I don't think it's good.
Yeah.
So like I'm trying to think of like maybe in a like deck that has a bunch of gates you can put it on. I think this card that this goes on the best is that 1/3 the Moose Drake, the 1/3 flyer that draws
Oh,
your
yeah.
card.
Yep.
If you can make it like a 3/3 vigilance flyer with
I mean,
menace.
What about in the 3-mana search your library for a gate card that you guys went over in the last
District
podcast that I was
Guide.
in? District Guide. Like putting this on District Guide makes it into a real threat. Like if you have
It just sucks
Yeah.
that you get nothing if you
It's-
don't have any gates.
you don't.
It's also
do.
so much mana
Uh,
investment. It's
you
like
still get
5 mana
vigilance
to
and
play
menace.
with it. Yeah, but
Sure,
it's so
but-
much mana.
5 mana
Equip
for
3
vigilance
is so
and
much.
bad. You need to have a lot of gates to make this even playable in my eyes.
I
And
mean,
at that
even
point, I
2.
feel like if you're playing a bunch of gates, you're not aggressive, and this is kind
I
of
don't
an
know.
aggressive. Like equipment to me is just always kind of aggressive.
There is that green common that we saw earlier that can only be blocked by 1 creature, and if you give it menace, it's just unblockable.
combo.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yep.
It's not nothing. It's
Yeah.
like not nothing, but again, I think that the equip 3 hurts this. Like it's a lot,
Oh yeah.
and like giving +1/+0, it just like kind of trades off guys, and then you have to pay 3 mana every turn, which is like not the best. This card's not impressive. I'm gonna have this card at like a 2.
Yep. That's kind of where I am at it.
I'm having it as a 0. I'm never playing it.
I'm at a 3. I think in every non-Boros deck you're gonna be playing this. If you're playing a guild gate count that's 3 or greater, the fact that it doesn't, you can attack with a creature. Chances are they're gonna have to trade a creature for it, and then you can move it over after that, and then you can use your cheaper creatures as trading up with this card. I think it's going to see at least it will never see play in multiples, but you'll always play the first one. I think in non-Boros 3+ guild gate decks. So
I want to change my rating to a 1.5. I actually think this card's like just fine. Like it's like worse than a 2. I think. I just don't. I don't. I think it's only specific decks want it.
I'm just
Like,
really just
narrow.
never gonna play it. So
Yeah, it's fine.
can't wait to beat you with this.
Alright.
that's fine.
You have to
So-
play the format first.
The Golgari locket exists. It's the green-black one. Same thing. Is it locket? Same thing as the other locket, but for blue and red. Rampaging Monument. It is an artifact creature cleric for 4 mana, so great in cleric tribal. It is a
Ooh.
0/0. It's an uncommon. It has trample. Rampaging Monument enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So face value 4 generic mana for a 3/3 with trample, but it also has whenever you cast a multicolor spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Rampaging Monument. Something that we
This card's
alluded
pretty good.
something we alluded to earlier is there are over 80 gold cards in this set, and you're going to very easily have 4 or 5 gold cards in your deck. And the fact that this just starts off as a 4-mana 3/3 with trample is okay. And the fact that it can just grow, it can also grow mid-combat if any of the gold cards are instants, which, spoiler alert, out of 80, some of them are. It can grow mid-combat, so all of your gold cards can become combat tricks. I think this card is pretty good and limited.
This card is like a 3.5. I think this card, if it gets 1 counter, it's a 4/4 trample for 4, which is like
Awesome.
pretty huge.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's like really big.
rare
We talked
stats.
about how everything's like really small.
Yeah, that's like rare stats,
Yeah, this card's great.
Yep, I also have
and it's
it with 3.
colorless, so it goes in literally every deck.
It's a hill giant with upside, a lot of upside.
For sure.
I think comparing this to a hill giant's almost unfair because it's just like, so again, there's so many multicolored cards that you're like, even the Boros decks are gonna have like a decent amount of multicolored cards. Like every
and
deck's
it's
gonna
trample
have,
too, so
yeah.
like
I-
it's just it blows away a hill giant. So
I think this card's like a top tier uncommon in the set.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Remember how I said I was going to pull up really old art for
ooh,
cards?
let's go.
Yeah, I had to pull up the
Hill Giant?
OG Hill Giant.
Oh yes.
Oh, look how beautiful that card is. God, I love old bordered cards. All right. Ian and Pay the Toll, did I hear your numbers? Or
Yeah, I'm with a 3.5 as well.
okay. Aaron?
I'm probably there too. I think every deck is gonna play this, and I wouldn't be surprised if you're first picking this over somewhere. So
That's kind of where I'm at with it as well. So, Selesnya Locket also exists. It's another locket, except for this one is green-white. Silent Dart, a single generic mana for an artifact. It is uncommon. It has 4 tap, sacrifice Silent Dart. It deals 3 damage to target creature. The flavor text is also really cool. These terms are acceptable to House Demir. Shall we shake on it?
ooh,
So if I open this card at pre-release, I'm going to take a marker and replace the D with an F.
because it's a fart.
Wow.
Right.
Oh,
It's a
sorry.
big old stinker.
This is a Christian server. We can't say that F word.
That is most of my analysis on this card, by the way. So you guys can.
Yeah. I mean.
Did you stay up all night working on that one, bud?
It actually just came to me just now.
It's a pretty bad removal spell. You will probably be very unhappy to run it. It doesn't hit face, so it doesn't even have like this small upside of giving you a little bit of reach. I don't see this card. It's maybe like a 1 or even a 0.5. Not a fan.
I think it's a 2. It's like fine.
Really?
It's the classic like colorless removal spell. The colorless removal spells always like see a decent amount of play. Green decks tend to like them a little bit more than others because they don't have access to good removal.
I don't know though. I mean, green had the most combat tricks of any color that we saw.
Yeah, but combat tricks are not.
They're not
Not
Yeah,
actually
they're not
removals.
true
Like-
removal. That's very true.
Yeah, combat tricks don't kill your opposing creature. Your opposing players like flyer,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because they're never putting that in combat with you.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Any other thoughts or numbers on this one?
Yeah, it's pretty low for me.
I think I'm at a 2 as well. It'll see play more often than you'll think. It's because the removal is kind of expensive, and this will just sit and play and allow you to leave up your jumpstart stuff possibly and is it, and then you have the threat of activation always. So
That's fair. Wand of Vertebrae. A single generic mana for an artifact. It's an uncommon. It has the activated ability tap, put the top card of your library into your graveyard. It has a second activated ability 2 tap, sack, exile Wand of Vertebrae, shuffle up to 5 target cards from your graveyard into your library. If you're aggro milling yourself in limited, or if you are some type of Golgari deck that really wants to put cards into their graveyard and you didn't pick up Surveil and you don't think you're going to be putting junker creatures into your graveyard, this card exists for you, but it seems so low impact to me. I'm not really high on this one.
Ian, I know you're a little bit higher on the like self-mill standard decks than I am. Do you think this has a chance of seeing play in standard?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think that you would play this. I don't think it's worth a card.
I agree. I'm just curious for your thoughts.
If the exile was more along the lines like Elixir of Immortality, I'd be more inclined to say yes. But 5 cards, I don't think are enough. The second half of it.
You don't want to play with Elixir of Mortality in standard, not with Expansion Explosion.
No, but like I'm saying, like this card, I think this is better than like Elixir of Mortality and like the self-mill decks because like you don't want to get rid of your whole graveyard, right? You can just like get back some of your payoff cards
Sure,
and leave the rest of your filler in the graveyard.
You're right in that specific type of deck. I just meant in general for decks for decks that like Elixir of Immortality would see play in other decks just because of like what it does.
Maybe.
It also gains 5 life. I don't know.
Yeah, the gaining life on that card is actually probably pretty relevant. But yeah. But I don't know. I don't think this card's fair to compare to that. I think it's like different because I think you play for the top ability of milling yourself.
Sure.
But yeah, it's pretty clearly a Golgari card in limited. I don't think it's very good. It's probably a 1. I don't know. Maybe this card's better than I think it is. But...
Yeah, I also had it as a 1.
I think it's a 0.
I wouldn't put it past some deck wanting this in some obscure deck ever. But I'm definitely, I think it's a 1.5 in that sense in constructed, and probably a 1 in limited.
I can't put it as a 0 in limited just because I played way too much Epitaph Golem in limited.
And this one is actually going to be a twofer video because not only do we cover artifacts, we're also going to cover lands. Again, there are some lands that are kind of duplicates, so we're not going to go super deep on any particular guild gate. We're just going to talk about guild gates as a whole, very similar to shock lands, where we're going to just kind of go over those as a collective. And then there are some, I think there's 2 other lands that we may go a little deeper on.
Are you going to say Boros Guild Gate twice?
No, because
there's 2 of them.
Then we might have a Beetlejuice-esque situation going on, and I don't.
There's only 2, not 3.
Yeah, but I'm sure that somebody else is going to say Boros Guildgate at least one more time, and then like a Boros Guildgate might actually just like show up at my house.
I think we can say with Guildgates. I think we can say about the Guildgates a lot about what we said about the lockets. They're not exactly the same cards, but they're similar in the sense of like I think Boros wants them way less than any other guilds.
Definitely.
But
these are awesome in your non-Boros decks because if you take some of the ones like Ian was mentioning earlier, there are some overlapping guilds such as such as Grixis and Sultai and what Naya I guess technically exists.
Yeah, it's Abzan, Naya, Jeskai, Grixis, and Sultai.
Right.
Yep.
So there is some overlap there, so you could conceivably be 3 colors in some limited formats. So Boros Guildgate taps for the Boros colors, which is red or white. Notably, all of the gates enter the battlefield tapped.
And have the land type gate.
Yes, and yes, that is also very true. There were a lot of cards, or a non-zero amount of cards in green, and some in artifacts that we just talked about that do care about the gate land type. So, pay attention to land, gate. There's the Dimir Guild Gate. They tap for the Dimir colors, blue and black. Here's Gateway Plaza. So this is a gate that doesn't exactly, have the same text. So we'll go into this one. Gateway Plaza enters the battlefield tapped. When Gateway Plaza enters the battlefield, sacrifice it unless you pay 1. And it has tap, add 1 mana of any color. This card's just a gate version of Ruptured Spire.
Yeah, so very relevant that this card has the gate subtype.
Yes.
Because you can find it with your district guide and your all the other things, and it counts as a gate. So this card is in your like slower decks that want a lot of gates. This is like the best gate.
Yep.
Like unless you pay 1 is a real downside because like it almost time walks you, which is like a real cost.
Right.
But it taps for any color, and it is a gate. So even if you're just 3 colors, it does tap for all 3 colors, which helps cast your like greedy multicolored spells.
Yep.
Shimmering Grotto.
Yes.
This is better. It's Rupture Spire.
Oh, it's much better, but
Definitely.
I think
I
Can you rate this?
higher up on this card than I think most people because of my 5-color dream. I won't be first picking it, but I wouldn't be surprised if I end up rating it like a 2.5.
I think it's 2.5. I think it's correct.
Yeah.
Like, this card's quite good.
Yeah,
I think the
agree.
gates are also around 2.5 as well.
Yeah.
Like, again, the only reason I rate this the same is because not every this is the greedier decks want this more, but the less greedy decks want this less.
Right.
So it's like, it's more. They're not the same as guild gates. Like, there's a difference. Some decks want them more, some decks want them less. But I think overall, it's around the same. Like, I think pack one, pick one. I'd probably pick a gate over this, to be honest, though.
Definitely.
Or like a guild gate, I should say, over this.
I think once you're solidified in the 4 to 5 color deck, I think that's when you'll be taking this. So probably once you start looking at like the 7th, 8th pick, probably late in the pack. And if you see it wheel and you're in that deck, you know for sure you're the only one that wants it. So I'm at a 2.5 as well. So
Wow.
I think that there's some applications in constructed too. If we want to talk about that.
It's possible. It's not like Rupture Spires is a card I've talked about as like maybe seeing play, and this is like probably strictly better technically because it's a gate, and you can find it with like the Civic Wayfinder card or whatever.
Yeah. I think that district guide is just what makes this
Yeah.
card playable. If it didn't, I don't think it is.
I pulled up the Rupture Spire, and it's literally the same text, except for this one has the gate subtype. So
Yeah,
there's
but it is
specific-
relevant. Like we talked about how what was the card again? I've blanked on it again.
District Guide or the
District Guide. District Guide. The routes less so because I think you want to tap out for routes a lot, so you can't really tap out and get this with the routes.
Right.
Yeah,
You
it's a
have to
little awkward.
sacrifice it.
But yeah, District Guide though is a playable card, and I've thought of Rupture Spires has been a card in the back of my mind when building as like a card that's not unplayable, and like something I'll come back to, and like this is just like better because of District Guide.
That's fair. Any other thoughts before we move on? All right, so the Golgari Gold Gate exists. Again, enter battlefield tap. It's a gate, green and black. There's 2 of them, Beetlejuice style.
That's right.
Guild Mages Forum. It's a land. It's rare. It has tap, add, colorless. It also has the activated ability 1 and tap, add 1 mana of any color. If that mana is spent on a multicolored creature spell, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter.
So this card's weird. I think this card is most of the time going to be worse than Gateway Plaza actually, in limited.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually better than Gateway Plaza if you are the 4-color deck. If you are maxing on multicolored creatures, like we talked about how power toughness isn't that high, if you all of a sudden make your 3/3 a 4/4 for 1 extra mana, that's like pretty good.
Yeah.
So But again, even so, I'm still going to rate this lower than Guild Gates and the Gateway Plaza, because I think 90% of the time it's going to be worse. But I think there are going to be I can envision a deck where this card is better than an average Guild Gate or Gateway Plaza. But again, those decks should also have plenty of Guild Gates and probably wants a Gateway Plaza or two.
Right. Yeah. For very similar reasons, I've got it as a 2.
Yeah,
I think
this is probably one of the least happy rares you'll open.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which means Tyler will open what, 2 of them at pre-release?
Oh yeah.
Definitely one promo. At least one promo.
Yeah.
Calling
So I have this as like a 1.5 unlimited, just because I can only envision one deck that wants to play it, and I don't even think it wants to play it all the time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be playing this card. I'm never gonna pick it unless it gets given to me.
So you have it as just straight 0?
Nah, it's like a 1.5 maybe. I don't know, like a 1. I'm not gonna actively try to seek this card out.
Gotcha. Aaron?
I'll take a lot of coupons over it.
Oh yeah.
So,
sure.
This card reminds me a lot of the Eldrazi card that did something similar. That allowed it to enter the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter. I forget what that card was called, but
I think it was
Ruins of Oran Reef, I believe.
Yeah, Ruins of
but
Oran.
that did not have the ability of Sherman Grotto with it. I wouldn't be surprised if this saw a random one of ability or added into a super crazy Chromatic Lantern deck, like you guys are talking about before.
Talking about for limited or for constructed?
Constructed.
Yeah, I think there's definitely more applications in constructed.
There you go. Ruins of Oran Reef. So the card, I wouldn't be surprised if it saw some kind of constructed applications. Then limited, it's going to be a Shimmer Grotto to me every time. So this is the card actually that we were talking about before. So I just got ahead of ourselves. So
Yeah.
It is slightly better than Shimmer Grotto.
yeah, that's what the baseline is for me, though.
Yeah, but it's not. It's slightly better, but I don't think it's that much better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So if you use this card with Sherman Grotto with the Ruins of Oran Reef, you'll have this card. So
Is there a Painter Servant-esque effect that turns all of your creatures to gold creatures?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either. I had to look up the text of Painter Servant to make sure that it didn't make them those colors.
I'm pretty sure
edition.
Painter Servant makes them all gold, and I'm pretty sure there's some weird artifact that makes them all colorless.
Yeah, Mycosynth Lattice makes them all colorless. I don't
Yeah.
think
I don't
Painter...
think there's anything that makes them gold.
Oh, it is in addition to their other colors. So yeah, if you play Painter Servant in Guild Mage's form, and for 1 mana,
What?
Painter
Servant definitely does not say in addition.
Yeah, it does.
Really?
Yeah. All cards that
No,
aren't on the
sorry.
battlefield, spells, and permanents are the chosen color in addition to their other colors.
I always thought I was just turning it straight into that.
No,
I did too.
Nope. I had to search it. So
Reading's
The
hard.
more you know.
combo. Is it Guildgate? It is. Blue and red, Guildgate. Alright, now we're on to some Shocklands. They're called Shocklands because they enter the battlefield and you may pay 2 life, which is the same amount of damage you take from a shock. If you don't, they enter the battlefield tapped. But notably, they have the basic land types, so they are swamps and forest. Thusly, they can tap for black and green or any other corresponding numbers. If you have a card that cares about forests, if you have something that doesn't specify basic forest, if it says search your deck for a forest card, you can find Overgrown Tomb. So these cards are quite powerful and quite sought after. And
So this is
they're
an easy
printed in
constructed
the-
for.
Yes,
Right.
Yep. Constructed 4.
easily
It's
constructed.
in standard and modern and even legacy apparently with Death Shadow.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that it's these are the rare dual lands that we'll see play in standard, ho hum, not really anything to talk about. In limited though, I want to note that So these are worth money. So like if you're just drafting casually, like take the Shockland obviously over like something else. But if you're like drafting and trying to win, whether it's like Phantom or just like you're just like really want to win, I think Shocklands are slightly worse than Guild Gates in draft.
Definitely. The 2 life, it does let you play a 1-drop on 1. I don't think that's worth paying the 2 life. It may be, but I definitely wouldn't first pick a Shockland unless the pack was incredibly weak or if I really cared about recouping some of my value from the draft.
So actually, you brought up a good point. Sacred Foundry, I think, is the one exception, where Sacred Foundry is like better than Boros Guildgate.
Yep.
But I think for the rest of them, I think there's enough cards that care about the subtype gate more than the subtype, like the basic land subtype, that the gates are just better.
Yeah.
Like we saw plenty of cards that care about gates.
Right. So not only is there Overgrown Tomb, which is a swamp and a forest, there's also Sacred Foundry, which is a mountain and a plains. We talked about Selesnya Guildgate, but it's a gate. It taps for the Selesnya colors, white and green. There is Steam Vents, which is another Shockland. This is the Izzet aligned one. It's an island mountain. There's Temple Garden, which is a forest plains, so it's the Selesnya aligned one. There is Watery Grave, which is an island swamp, so your Dimir aligned one. And shockingly enough, basic lands they exist. The guild gates replace the basic lands in the packs, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that means the only place to get these are your dual decks and your guild kits. Is that correct?
Yep.
And like I don't know if they still do fast packs or not, but
They do.
They call them bundles now.
sure. I'm sure those will have basics.
Yeah. So that really kind of does it for the lands. We're all in very much agreement that the Shocklands are definitely constructed playable. If you're playing standard, you'll want to pick these up. They have been printed, 4 times now, right? They've been in a master set, or no?
They were
Have
not
they?
in the master set.
I was
They've
gonna say, I
only
don't
been
think so.
printed 3 times. Ravnica, Return to Ravnica, and Return to Ravnica.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And-
definitely what this set's called.
I think the fetch lands. Fetch lands got reprinted in master
That's right.
set.
That's right.
Well, not the Zendikar fetch lands, not the comp ones.
Right. So, spoiler alert. I believe it has been confirmed that the rest of the Shocklands are coming with the other 5 guilds in the next. Yep. So.
And allegiances, yeah.
Yep. So if you have another notable thing is if you're an older player, maybe you played in Ravnica the first time around and you didn't sell your collection, Magic has a really cool rule that you can use any printing of a card that is standard legal in your standard deck. So if you have a original Ravnica Watery Grave, you can put it in your standard deck and go to F&M, which is pretty cool. So just keep that in mind, and if you maybe are shopping online or at your local game store and you see a pretty good deal on an older Watery Grave, for example, and it's $1 or $2 cheaper than the new one, unless you really care about the art, you can pick up one of the older ones and still run it in your standard deck and be completely fine. So that's just a little heads up to some people that are either newer or maybe are returning players.
There's no way the older one's going to be cheaper, right? Isn't like older always more expensive? I don't know.
On Moto, that's not true.
Yeah.
Maybe on Moto, but I'm talking paper.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's some people that will care about the art, and like me, I'm going to be upgrading my Temple Gardens on Moto to the new ones if the prices are comparable, because I love this.
Oh yeah, that is one thing. I like the art, and the new Shockland art I think is quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely buying 4 of those Temple Guard. I think 4.
Definitely. So any closing thoughts on the lands or artifacts before we wrap up this video?
No?
I'd like to say that I was able to convince Ian to come up from a 0 to a 2 on a cost.
That's
It
right.
might even be higher, honestly.
Like, my job here is done.
That's right. We are so very glad that you came back to join us for the next to last video on Return to Ravnica, as you know, you did manage to convince Ian to come up on a card. That's pretty great. So for me, William, and the rest of the Deece Plus podcast crew, I would like to thank you for tuning in and for tuning us out. Praise be to Quee, to Danny Trejo, and to Owen Wilson.
Praise be.
Praise be. Please like, comment, subscribe to stay tuned in with all the Deece Plus content. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to click on over to Twitch and give me a follow there. If you're watching on Twitch, please feel free to hop over to YouTube and give me a like there. Last time I said something about a circle of happiness. I don't even remember why I said that, but it is a self-fulfilling, mutual beneficial relationship. I get to produce more content if more people are interested in watching it, and if you're watching it and entertained, then we just all benefit from that. It's kind of like those little bugs that hang around cows and like eat the bugs out of their poop. Like, wait, did I just compare our listeners to bugs?
Are we the poop?
Oh, are we the poop? Stay thirsty, my friends.
Okay. Got it.
My box of common lands are over there. They're sorted. I could have found a Boros Guildgate had I known that this joke was coming. So I'm going to make a executive decision. Next time we make a Beetlejuice joke, you motherfuckers better tell me so I can have it ready. Right.
Look, I didn't realize it until I scrolled down on the Scryfall and I saw that there's two Boros Guildgates next to each other. And I was like, I should probably just think about this.
That's very true. Very true. Oh, I don't have my robot turned on. If you're in my Twitch chat and type in Weeb, then the beginning to some anime plays.
Isn't it like Attack on Titan?
I think it's like the theme
think it's
song to Attack on Titan. I don't actually
think so
watch
too.
anime, so I don't actually know. But
Hashtag Weeb Life.
Yeah.
I feel like that it just doesn't make sense that you don't like anime.
Do I just look like somebody that would like anime?
No, but you love Tumblr, and Tumblr is like 80% anime jokes.
That's true. I mean, I just don't follow people that post a lot of anime. Or I just read the Wikipedia article on the anime so I can understand the joke. I did watch a non-zero amount of Yuri on Ice.
Also, just like Magic players in general are like a good amount like anime. I don't know. Sorry. I interrupted? Sorry.
No, I mean, a lot of this is just going to get moved to the blooper reel anyway. So, I mean, it's fine.